Hello, it's Friday and time for another weekly update. This week, let's start talking about some future things. So first of all, we have seen now the EU is going to be happy for Apple to release a portless iPhone, something that we've all kind of assumed would be coming at some point. But it means now that we know the EU is not going to sue Apple, that it probably means it's going to happen. So that would mean a MagSafe only device, which would probably cause a huge ecosystem problem. Let's be honest, because if you've got CarPlay requires you to plug your phone in most cases. So there's going to have to be a whole raft of changes to make this work. And I think it's likely to make a load of current devices obsolete and cause a huge number of potential issues because of that. Outside of that, we've also seen that NVIDIA continues to release new GPUs focused at business with their Pro 6000 range. This is kind of taking what they did with the latest gaming GPUs and put them in the data center for AI acceleration. The realism of it is mostly unaffordable and is designed for these huge companies that are going to be running the AI models publicly for us, and less designed for you if you're going to be running your own model for your business. Most people doing that will still rely on consumer grade GPU cards just because the pricing is so much more attractive. In Microsoft news, there was a major outage in the US about a day ago, lasted for a good few hours. For 365, hit mainly Outlook and Exchange users, but again, shows the potential weakness if you don't have a DR or backup plan for your 365 environment, because ultimately it could be offline for a decent amount of time. And if you use that for your main business function, it's going to be quite difficult to trade without it. In other Microsoft news, Microsoft released an update for Windows 11 that removed Copilot. Unintentionally, they claim, but I think for many people that would be a benefit certainly on the consumer side, and certainly for some business users. The Copilot built into your Windows device is in the way, and they managed to remove it after saying it was integral and it couldn't be removed. There was no way to remove it. They managed to do it with a Windows update. So if you've installed the latest Windows update, you may have noticed that Copilot has been removed from your device. Microsoft have released a one line of code that you can use from PowerShell to download Copilot and reinstall it, or you can get it from the App Store and reinstall it, or you can wait for Windows Update to reinstall it for you. But it's interesting to see how the statement about it being completely required for the operating system to work isn't true. While we're talking about AI, Apple's in a lot of hot water at the moment about their Siri, or the AI-driven Siri update. That seems to have caused more issues for Apple than they were hoping, right? So a lot of advertising for the latest generation of phones, the iPhone 16 generation, talked about using an AI-driven Siri, which is now not coming until next year. And obviously they've done a great job of pulling all the marketing back and hiding everything that mentions it. But people are unhappy. People that have bought the phone because of that are very much in arms. And I can see that in the US, there's probably a good chance there will be some kind of lawsuit that will follow because of false advertising and promises that weren't delivered on. That's kind of the world of tech. Let's talk about Planet for a second. So in Planet IT news, we've got two events that I want you to put in your diary. We've had two 45-minute webinars, and they're upcoming around two products that we think are really important and will make a big difference to the way you operate as a business. One of them is CoreView, which you may have heard me talk about before, which is a platform that helps you manage your 365 more successfully. There's a lot more than that, but that's a snapshot of what it does. That's the first webinar. I'll put a link so that you can sign up to join us for it. It's definitely worth the 45 minutes just to see how that product works. And it's something that we're seeing people take up across the board, across all industries, and make a big difference. The second product is HoxHunt. HoxHunt is a user training program for cybersecurity, and it takes the kind of traditional phishing simulation that doesn't work, that people just learn to ignore, and really ramps it up and makes it something that not only is user centric but also builds change for organizations. And we use it internally, and I definitely think it's something that you want to look at. So that's the second of those two webinars. Outside of that, I've got so much more I'm going to announce next week. It's going to be events. So you're going to want to join me next week to see more about that. But until then, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll catch you next week. Goodbye.